Hello and welcome to this episode of Grant-o-nese cooking. In this episode I'm going to teach you how to cook traditional Chinese century eggs.
I'm eating Grant-o-nese, it's delicious. I'm eating Grant-o-nese, it's nutritious.
Chinese century eggs date back at least to the Ming Dynasty. Now, a lot of people are scared to make these types of eggs because they think they're rather complicated. But in true Grant-o-nese fashion, I'm going to show you a very effective and easy way of doing so. But keep in mind, this recipe is for the long haul. It takes roughly about 5 to 6 weeks for your eggs to be actually ready to eat. For this recipe, you really don't need a lot of different ingredients. Basically, I'll put the ingredient list into the description of this video. I'm going to make about 4 litres of, I guess you could actually call it stock, to actually soak the eggs into. So I'm going to have 4 litres of boiling water. I'm going to try to fit into a glass jar about 12 eggs. You know, I don't want to go to the effort of making eggs and only making 1 or 2. Then this is where it gets a little bit complicated. You need some clay. Now the clay will come in later on in this recipe. You can use shop purchase clay, but if you've got some in your backyard, absolutely no harm in actually digging some up. And the only other ingredients are actually salt and lye. So I'm just using some common kitchen salt, but this is lye. An ingredient often used in, say, for example, making soap, and within various cleaning products. But it's also intensively used in some recipes also. But you've got to make sure that it's 100% lye. Now, you might be able to get this from your local health shop. Now what you want to do is to slowly bring the water up to boil, and then in increments just start adding lye and salt until it's actually boiling. So I'm slowly stirring in the salt and the lye. Now make sure that you're cooking in a well ventilated area, because perhaps the fumes from the salt and the lye may cause some sort of irritation. If you've got a ceiling fan or a kitchen fan of some form, no harm in actually turning it on. Because remember, lye is often used as a cleaning product. Now that the water's boiled, we can turn it off, and we have to let it rest until it cools down to room temperature. Now that the water's cooled down, I put it into a very big glass jar and I'm carefully inserting the eggs. These eggs are straight from a chicken's bum. Nice and fresh. Now, I've submerged all the eggs, but you want to make sure that the water's covering all the eggs. So you might want to put in something to actually buffer it down. I've got this cork stopper for the jar, but as you can see, the eggs are still floating slightly. So I'm just going to actually put some paper on top like that, just to basically help to actually push them down once I put in the stopper. Now we have a little bit of waiting to do. We've got to let these eggs soak for at least 10 days. But remember, in the meantime, go and source some clay, because as soon as these eggs pass the 10-day mark, then it's time to use the clay. So in 10 days time, I'll see you. Wow, would you believe it? It's 10 days later, the eggs have been soaking, and I'm just about to get them prepped for the next vital stage, where they're going to cure for about 2 weeks in a clay casing. Here's one I made earlier. So I've already started prepping the eggs for the next step. I've been slowly taking the eggs out of the brine, wiping them down with a paper towel. Then with my clay, yes, I hope you did not forget the clay. With my clay, I've been making little patties to wrap around the eggs, and I've actually made some there, but I'll actually take you through it step by step now, and then finally wrapping them up with some good old-fashioned cling wrap. It's time to get down and dirty, folks. So what you want to do is take one of the eggs carefully out of the brine. It'll be a little bit slimy, still covered in the lye and salt. So get your paper towel, just give it a nice gentle rub. We don't want to break the shell. Make sure that it's, you know, fairly dry. It doesn't have to be perfect. Then get one of your pre-made patties. So here's one I made earlier. Now get one of your pre-made clay patties and just gently, very, very gently start to work it around the egg. We want it totally encased in the actual clay. Again, try to be nice and gentle so the egg itself does not actually break. You know, get it fairly smoothish. And then when it's fairly encased, simply wrap it up in some cling wrap, getting ready for the next stage. So I put all my eggs into a resealable bag. They're all wrapped up individually in clay, and in the cling wrap, we're going to leave them in the bag, hopefully, you know, fairly airtight now, for about 2 weeks, so that they have time to actually cure. So check back with me in 2 weeks' time, and we'll crack them open and have a taste. Well, folks, we've been waiting for weeks to try these. Now we're going to open one up and see if it worked. I can't wait to taste this delicious egg. Okay, so we're going to take one of these out and unwrap it from the cling wrap, and then gently take it out of the clay that it's been basically pickling in for the last, maybe 2 weeks. Now, the moment of truth. We're going to open it up and see what is inside. Fingers crossed, folks. And believe it or not, here we have an incredibly delicious looking century egg. Look at the consistency of it. It's incredibly colourful and will be incredibly delicious. So this recipe has taken a while. You can see that even my hair's actually grown over time. It's actually gone a little bit crazy. But the payoff is one of these eggs. Now, you can choose to eat the egg just as an egg if you want to, but traditionally what I would suggest is you'd be mixing some of this egg in with some, basically just some pure boiled rice, or adding it to a general larger recipe in order just to add that little bit more flavour. But now, let me taste. Oh, it's got that really strong egg smell. Like not rotten egg, but just like a strong egg flavour smell. That is beautiful. Honestly, folks, this is like eating an egg shot. Like, it's so strong and powerful. Add this to one of your meals and just give you a closer look again. Remember, each egg will actually look just a little bit different, but these are Grant-o-nese Phoenix eggs for the win.